But my granddad told a story when, well, first off, my mom had told me that she was born on a flat rock at their house. It was down, they lived down about 150, 200 yards from what we call the big tree, which is that one up there. And Papa Miller would not ever join the Ku Klux Klan. Back then, that was a big issue, race was, and he would never join the Ku Klux Klan. And one day, that big tree had 4 branches that came off of it, about 4 foot off the ground. They were about 3 foot around a piece. 3 foot diameter apiece. And one day, or one night, somebody came up and drilled a hole in one of those limbs, put a stick of dynamite in it, and jammed a stick in there, and set that dynamite off, blew the limb off the tree, and that stick landed about 50 foot from my granddad's house, all because he wouldn't join the Ku Klux Klan. I don't remember the exact time. I was approximately 8 or 9 years old when the United States put up a satellite, Air Force satellite, called Echo 1. And it just so happened that we got a Border Collie mixed dog about that time, and we named the dog Echo. When I was growing up, until I was probably 18, we had a black and white television. We could only get 3 channels on a good day. We'd have to go out and turn the antenna or pick up the channel. Some days you couldn't get but 2. And I'm not sure that area, because we lived out in the country, even today I don't know if they can get many more stations than that, but we'd go out and turn that antenna and pick up another station if we wanted to change it. And that's all we had. In 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated, and we were at school, and our whole class walked, it was just about half a mile down the road from school to one of the kids' homes, and watched everything on television. As soon as we heard, we all went down there, and about 30 of us gathered in that one room. It was a fairly large room, but it wasn't real big. We watched everything, all the stuff that they did from there.
We were in Germany when President Kennedy was assassinated. We lived in Heidelberg. Heidelberg was like Albuquerque. It sit down in the valley and the mountains all around us. Of course, there was a 12-hour difference, so it was that time when we heard about it overseas. I was upstairs at a friend's house watching some movies. They had been to France or somewhere, and Mom called and told us to turn the radio on. We had radio. We didn't watch the TV over there, and I'll never forget when it came on. It said, if you just tuned in, the President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, has died. And it was a scary time being overseas and being in Germany, and the Russians were all around, and the German people really liked Kennedy, so they were very concerned too. When I was about in junior high, we lived in Missouri. Papa did a lot of different things there, and he went out to do game work. So he knew a lot of the landowners, and we were going to get us a Christmas tree. So Papa and Graham and I got in the car and went off out to the field somewhere. And by the time we get there, Papa asked them, "What'd you bring the axe?" She looked at him. Said, "Well, no, but you did." So we get there and we just start looking around, walking around, and Graham and I was picking up acorns and nuts and different things. And Papa took off with his shotgun. So we was just walking around and looking around things, and all of a sudden, boom, boom! Graham and I looked at each other, and we heard something being dragged through the brush. Here comes Papa with our Christmas tree. He shot out our Christmas tree.
About 1983, James would have been about 12, and Chris was probably 6. We took the family back to Illinois to visit relatives, and Papa and Graham took their trailer, which was a high-low that would raise up and down, and we took our travel trailer, and we had been back to Illinois, and were coming back to Odessa, came back through Glen Road, and stopped at a little deli station type deal, kind of like a 7-Eleven, and while we were going in and getting stuff and everything, well, Papa he was messing with his trailer, and there was a guy walked up, and he started talking to Papa and asked him if it raised up, and he worked at the highway department, which is just across the fence, probably 150 yards over there to their barn. Well, Papa just reached in and hit the switch and raised the trailer up. And this guy steps back there and hollers all the way over. There's a guy at the shop in bib overalls. He hollers all the way over there, and he says, "Hey, Buford, it really does raise up." She went to the San Antonio Zoo, and I don't remember what we were looking at, but she walked around and was looking at the monkey cage, and she started talking kind of like they were. And pretty soon, they were all up front of the cage talking back to her. And it was just, they were all stirred up, and she was talking to them, they was talking back. There was people from all over that stopped what they was looking at and come around and watching her, and there was monkeys. One time, James probably wasn't over 6 or 7, and we were sitting at the dining table eating supper one night, and had a 2-liter bottle of Coke, and I was reached over and was opening it. That time I just broke the seal loose. The lid blew off that bottle, bounced around the room 3 or 4 different times, hit the ceiling, and then bounced over and hit a wall and come back. I don't know where all it bounced, and it was about 6 months later I was changing a light bulb and realized in the process of that lid going up to hit the ceiling, it had hit the globe on the light and busted a little hole, and it just about an inch, just didn't break the whole globe, just knocked a hole in the globe. And also, a different night, but about the same time, we were sitting there one evening eating supper, and I don't remember what James said, but his mama got really mad at him and was giving him what for, and come down with her fist on the table, but she hit a fork, and it just bounced straight up, and it swirled around and landed on the table. Everybody got real quiet. Nobody would laugh, but we've talked about it a lot since then.
That's all, folks.